One of the country's biggest Cornish pasty makers is being gobbled up by a rival. The owner of Ginster's Pasties is buying the West Cornwall Pasty Company in a deal that provides a pretty good return for the former Leeds United, Manchester City and England footballer Danny Mills. He's an investor in Enact, a turnaround business fund that rescued West Cornwall from administration and is now selling it on. So, Danny, why are you selling this business?
It's a good time to sell. We had a very, very good offer, 5.5 times return to investors on our initial investment. It's the right space. Obviously, Ginster's, the Samworth Group that own Ginster's, it's the same sort of space as them in the marketplace. I think obviously initially we secured 230 jobs. They are now very, very secure, obviously taken over by a much larger business. And hopefully now West Cornwall will be expanded, will be taken into the Samworth Brothers brand, expanded, grown, and go on from there.
So how did you get involved in Enact in the first place?
Well, I've known the two co-founders, Gary Wilson and Darren Forshaw, for many, many years. And finally, when Enact was set up 3 years ago to invest in small and medium-sized businesses, I was asked to invest, which I was very, very glad to do. And then asked to join the advisory board and have a little bit more of an input into how and who and why we invest. And so far, things are going pretty well.
So what do you think about the general state of the economy right now? Are you concerned by all this talk of a slowdown?
I think the problem at the moment is there are too many variables, too many unknowns. We don't really know what the fallout from Brexit will be. Everyone's presuming it's going to be bad. It might not be. We've also got the issue over in the US. Everybody thought that obviously Donald Trump becoming president was going to be a bad thing, and that never happened. And obviously there's the issue with the French and the Germans to come sort of next year and the year after. So there are so many variables at the moment. I think now is the time to just sit tight and be a little bit patient.
But presumably if there is a bit of a downturn, then there are going to be companies like West Cornwall was 3 years ago that need rescuing and need turning around.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's where Enact sits in that small medium business market. We are there ready to not just help people out financially, but obviously the team behind the scenes have fantastic knowledge, great expertise, along with all the other investors as well, that we can tap into their knowledge. So we are there, hopefully to try and rescue people if they get into a little bit of trouble.
Now, what about the world of football finance right now? I mean, everyone's heads are being turned by China. There's a lot of money sloshing around in the game here, but there's even more over there. Do you blame people for seeking their fortune over there?
Not at all. Unfortunately, money talks. People say it's wrong, it's not the right thing to do, it's almost selling your soul. But ultimately, that's how the Premier League started in this country. It used to be made up of generally homegrown players, from the home nations. And of course, it's the likes of Middlesbrough that were never going to win the Premiership or Premier League as it is now at that time. Brought over a lot of foreign players, paid them extortionate wages, and the Premier League began. I think we have to be very, very careful that the same doesn't happen in China. The wages are now so extortionate that all players will have to be tempted.
Yeah, I mean, what about the concerns about the Chinese economy itself overheating, though? I mean, they now own the 4 big West Midlands clubs. Would you fear for them if China went pop?
It's a difficult one. There is always, obviously, before we had Russians come in, a lot of Russian money invested in the Premier League. Now it appears China. I think, obviously, the Chinese Premier League is government-backed, so it's unlikely that that's going to go bust at any time. I think they're now going to try and invest in rugby as well. They are certainly looking to become a sporting superpower, in the next few years.